Your patience is rewarded.
A demonic planeswalker's lust for power and dominance spanned millennia, bringing the most powerful beings under her control, such as the Elder Dragons Chromium and Piru. Her corrupted tactics would ultimately enslave an ancient planeswalker into her service. This is the exploration of GEYADRONE DIHADA and DAKKON BLACKBLADE. As a mortal, Dakkon was a master blacksmith and a warrior. On one fateful day, Dakkon would have the rotten luck of meeting the planeswalker GEYADRONE, which would change his life forever. GEYADRONE offered to make Dakkon a planeswalker, but in return, he was to create her the most powerful blade in existence, the Black Blade. Dakkon agreed, and so GEYADRONE shared the secret sorceries required to make the sword a soul drinker, capable of stealing the energies of those it killed. Dakkon knew his craft alone wouldn't be enough. The blade required the magical power of sacrifice. At first, Dakkon spilled only his own blood in sacrifice. The blade not only needed blood, but required life itself. After 2 years of forging, Dakkon knew that more needed to be done. He pulled the sword from the forge and told his son to close his eyes. Dakkon plunged the white-hot metal blade into his son's chest. The boy's blood, soul, and energy were drained into the sword. This was only the beginning, as Dakkon would cool the blade by slaughtering a slave after each time he had heated it. Upon completion, Dakkon could not resist testing the blade in battle. Dakkon executed his enemies, and with each kill, the strength within his sword grew. His assaults were known as slaughter, and his name became Dakkon Blackblade. GEYADRONE heard the stories of these battles and returned to Dakkon, now 10 years since their original deal. GEYADRONE did make Dakkon a planeswalker, having sensed the spark within him when they first met. Immediately she stabbed the sword into Dakkon's shadow and absorbed his soul, but not his life. This treacherous act ensured Dakkon would follow her among the planes to exact his revenge, in the meantime growing even stronger until she would need his services again. GEYADRONE would corrupt Sol Kanar to become her champion and gifted him with the Black Blade. GEYADRONE turned her attention to Corondor on Dominaria, seeking to conquer the land. During the destruction, GEYADRONE captured Karth when he was just a boy and imprisoned him. GEYADRONE DIHADA tricked Karth into summoning Dakkon Blackblade, and Karth used an amulet to bind himself to Dakkon, robbing Dakkon of the ability to planeswalk away. Dakkon attempted to slay Karth in order to free himself, but the amulet protected Karth, and Dakkon was once again forced to serve. The two had a familiar enemy in GEYADRONE, and thus worked together to kill her. GEYADRONE sent her champion, Sol Kanar, to slay the pair, but Dakkon bested the nature spirit. GEYADRONE made herself known, and laughed that the combatants were now fighting for her pleasure. She summoned Elder Dragons, Piru and Chromium, to attack Dakkon. Dakkon used his powers to immediately banish Chromium, while Karth was able to sneakily recover the Black Blade and return it to Dakkon. Dakkon stabbed Piru with the Black Blade, which released a massive energy blast, and creating the dueling chasm of Galthanar. The death blow also allowed GEYADRONE to absorb Piru's life force and power, which was her plan all along. The absorption of Piru's volatile energy caused GEYADRONE to temporarily lose control over her form, and revealed her true hideous demonic being. Dakkon turned to face Dihada, but she stalled long enough to place her mark on Dakkon, and exclaiming he would serve her for all eternity. Dakkon cursed Karth for summoning him in the first place, but Karth had seen something Dakkon had missed. Dakkon's shadow had returned. GEYADRONE then planeswalked away, and without a way to exact his revenge, Dakkon Blackblade traveled to Terisiar with the ancestor of the Karthalian bloodline. Karth the Lion would eventually pass away. Dakkon, still binded by GEYADRONE, likely served as her warrior. GEYADRONE returned to Dominaria during the Planeswalkers' War on Corondor millennia later. Dakkon and GEYADRONE would be in the presence of the last surviving member of the Karthalians, Jared Karthalian, although it is currently unknown if the three ever interacted together. Both GEYADRONE DIHADA and DAKKON BLACKBLADE seemingly disappeared from this point onward. The people of Dominaria still believe GEYADRONE is alive, and legend says that Sol Kanar will be restored to his original form upon her death. But until then, he still rules as the Demon King in Corondor to this day. The only legend with continued lore is the Black Blade itself. A possible descendant of Dakkon, Korlash, was next known to be in possession of the Black Blade. Later, the Black Blade would come into the possession of the Cabal minion Needle. Needle recovered the blade for the Cabal's new leader, Belzenlok. Needle was killed as a reward for his success. The Cabal rewrote the history of the blade as being forged by their leader Belzenlok. The new Weatherlight crew learned of the blade's existence and devised a plan to kill the Elder Demon with it. Gideon Jorah stole the Black Blade from the Cabal's vault and took it up against Belzenlok. Gideon was far outmatched in skill and thus was unable to strike the demon with it. However, Liliana's taunting of Belzenlok allowed Gideon to lodge the cursed sword into Belzenlok's leg, at which point Liliana grasped its hilt and activated its curse, draining Belzenlok's soul. Gideon kept the Black Blade in preparation for the looming fight against Nicol Bolas. Gideon with the Black Blade fought heroically in the War of the Spark. When confronted by Ronas, Gideon stabbed him in the eye with the Black Blade, draining the God Eternal into a husk that quickly crumbled into dust. Gideon attempted striking Nicol Bolas with a fatal blow to the head using the Black Blade, but the sword broke against Bolas's flesh. Bolas revealed that in the past, he had enchanted the Black Blade so that it would never be capable of hurting another Elder Dragon again. And so, with the sword destroyed and Dakkon and GEYADRONE lost within the multiverse, this has been an exploration of GEYADRONE DIHADA and DAKKON BLACKBLADE.